The morning Damian was supposed to leave, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy with emotions I had no right to feel. He was gone. It was for the best, or so I thought. By evening, as Chief Emeka and I sat in the living room, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. "It's Damian," he said, standing up to answer. I sat up straight, my pulse quickening. Why was he calling? Wasn't he supposed to be on his way back abroad? "Hello, son. How was your flight?" Chief Emeka asked cheerfully. A pause. His face hardened. "What do you mean you missed it?" My heart thudded against my chest. Chief Emeka listened for a few moments, his expression shifting from concern to irritation. "All right, as long as you're safe. But why didn't you come back home? Where are you staying?" Another pause. Then a deep frown settled on his face. "What do you mean you can't say? Damian, what's going on?" I sat frozen, every nerve in my body alert. He missed his flight. He didn't come home. Where was he? Chief Emeka sighed heavily. "Fine, just keep me updated." He hung up, shaking his head. "That boy is acting strange." I forced my voice to be steady. "What did he say?" Chief Emeka rubbed his temples. "He missed his flight but won't tell me where he is. He just said he needed time to think." Time to think? About what? I excused myself and went to the bedroom, my mind racing. Why didn't Damian return home? Was it because of me? Then a message popped up on my phone. "Damian, I had to see you one last time. Meet me. Please." My breath caught. He was still here and he wanted to see me. I hesitated, staring at the message. This was dangerous. I knew it. But some part of me wanted, no, needed to see him again. And so, against all logic, I replied, "Me, where are you?" The address he sent was a hotel in the outskirts of town. I knew I shouldn't go. I knew if Chief Emeka ever found out, it would destroy everything. But my fingers gripped the steering wheel as I drove through the dark roads, my heart pounding harder with each passing second. By the time I arrived, my palms were sweaty. I parked and walked toward the room number he sent me. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, stepping inside. Damian was there, standing by the window, his back to me. He turned slowly, his eyes dark and unreadable. "You came," he murmured, his voice heavy with emotion. I swallowed hard. "Damian, why didn't you leave? What's going on?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I couldn't, not yet. There's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you before I left." My breath hitched. "What is it?" A tense silence filled the room before he spoke again. "Noelle, I know your secret. I know everything." The air was knocked out of my lungs. What did he know? "Damian, what are you talking about?" I whispered, my voice trembling. He took a step closer. "I know why you married my father, and I know what you've been hiding." A cold shiver ran down my spine. This was more dangerous than I ever imagined. Noelle sat by her bedroom window, staring at the rain as it poured heavily against the glass. It had been a week since Damian was supposed to leave, and she hadn't heard a word from him. Chief Emeka had assumed his son was back abroad, focusing on his career, and though Noelle tried to act unbothered, the void in her heart only grew deeper. But the truth was far from what anyone imagined. Damian hadn't left the country. His flight was cancelled due to unforeseen technical issues, and he had to book another one scheduled for the next day. But instead of returning home, he had chosen to stay in a nearby hotel. A part of him didn't want to face his father again, not after the overwhelming emotions he had experienced before leaving. Needed time to think, to sort out what he truly wanted. Yet, Staying away from Noelle proved to be the hardest part. He found himself scrolling through her pictures on his phone late at night, remembering the way her voice sent a warmth through him, the way she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. His feelings for her were a dangerous mix of longing and guilt, but the heart wanted what it wanted. And then something unexpected happened. One evening, as Damian sat in his hotel room, sipping on a glass of whiskey, a knock came at his door. He wasn't expecting anyone. Cautiously, he opened the door, and there stood a woman he hadn't seen in years. Said, his first love. She had changed, matured into a woman more confident than the shy girl he once knew. Her eyes still held that sparkle, though there was something else, something unreadable. "Damian?" she whispered, stepping closer. "I had to find you." His heartbeat quickened. "Said? What? What are you doing here?" She hesitated for a moment before stepping into the room, her presence bringing back a flood of memories. "I heard you were leaving, and I couldn't let you go without talking to you. There's something you need to know." His chest tightened. "What is it?" Say took a deep breath, her fingers trembling slightly. "You're in danger, Damian. Someone doesn't want you here." His mind raced. "What are you talking about?" "It's your father, Chief Emeka. There are secrets he's hiding, secrets that could destroy everything, and if you don't leave soon, you might not get another chance." Damian felt the room close in around him. His father? What could he possibly be hiding? And how did Said know? Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Noelle couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She found herself pacing the halls late at night, unable to sleep. Every creak of the house made her jump. Every shadow seemed darker than usual. And then she overheard a conversation she wasn't meant to. Chief Emeka was in his study, speaking in hushed tones with someone over the phone. "He should have been gone by now. I don't want any mistakes. If he refuses to leave, we will have to handle him another way." Noelle's blood ran cold. Who was Chief Emeka talking about? And what did he mean by handle him another way? A terrifying thought crossed her mind. Was he talking about Damian? Damian sat in his hotel room, staring at his phone screen. His fingers hovered over Noelle's contact, his heart pounding. It had been 2 days since he missed his flight, and he still couldn't bring himself to leave. His emotions were a tangled mess, guilt, desire, and confusion, all warring within him. Just then, a knock sounded at his door. He hesitated before opening it. To his surprise, Tunde, his father's right-hand man, stood there with a knowing smirk. "Chief Emeka sent me to check on you," Tunde said, stepping inside. He was furious when he found out you hadn't boarded your flight. Damian exhaled sharply. "Let me guess. He thinks I'm being irresponsible?" Tunde chuckled. "He thinks you're hiding something. And if I'm being honest, I think so too." Damian's jaw clenched. He had always been careful, but Tunde was sharp, too sharp. "I just needed time to think," he said evasively. Tunde studied him for a moment before sighing. "Look, whatever is going on, you need to be careful. Chief Emeka is a man who doesn't like secrets." Damian's stomach twisted. He knew that better than anyone. His father had built his empire on power and control. If he suspected anything, he wouldn't rest until he uncovered the truth. After Tunde left, Damian made a decision. He had to see Noelle one last time. He needed to know if what they shared was real or just a fleeting fantasy. Later that night, he parked a short distance from the house. The lights were on in the living room. He could see Noelle through the window, sitting on the couch, her face troubled. A shadow moved behind her. Damian's breath caught as Chief Emeka stepped into view. His father stood tall, his expression unreadable as he placed a hand on Noelle's shoulder. What the hell was going on? A rush of possessiveness and panic surged through him. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. His father leaned down, whispering something into Noelle's ear. She flinched but nodded, her hands clenched into fists. Damian's pulse raced. This wasn't just a casual conversation. There was something deeper at play, something sinister. What secret was Noelle keeping? Determined to find out, Damian reached for his phone and sent her a text. "Damian, meet me." Now, he watched as she checked her phone, her eyes widening. A moment later, she excused herself from Chief Emeka and disappeared into the hallway. Damian stepped out of his car, his mind made up. Tonight, he would get the truth, no matter what it cost. The night air was thick with tension as Noelle paced restlessly in her room, her heart pounding wildly. Damian had just left, and the conversation they had replayed in her mind like a haunting melody. She had never seen him that angry, that broken. He had walked away, leaving her trapped in a web of emotions too tangled to unravel. Meanwhile, Chief Emeka sat alone in his study, staring at an untouched glass of whiskey. He had received disturbing news that threatened everything he had built. His private investigator had discovered that Damian had not returned abroad as he claimed. Instead, he had been spotted in different places within Nigeria, always under the radar. Why was his son lying to him? And more importantly, why was he hiding? A knock at the door jolted him from his thoughts. Tunde, his closest friend and confidant, stepped in, his expression grim. "We have a problem, Emeka," Tunde said, shutting the door behind him. "A big one," Chief Emeka sighed. "If it's about Damian, I already know. The boy is up to something." Tunde nodded. "Yes, but there's more. Someone is watching him. Someone dangerous." Chief Emeka sat upright, his pulse quickening. "Who?" Tunde hesitated before handing him a set of photographs. Chief Emeka's hands trembled as he flipped through them. The images were grainy, taken from a distance, but the faces were unmistakable. Men in dark suits, foreign men, and they were following Damian. "Who are they?" Chief Emeka demanded, his voice laced with fear and fury. "I don't know yet, but Damian may have gotten himself into something far bigger than we imagined." Noelle had no idea that trouble was brewing elsewhere. She was too lost in her own storm of emotions, but something kept nagging at her. Damian's parting words. "Don't trust what you see." What did he mean by that? The following morning, curiosity won over fear. Noelle decided to do something she had never done before, track Damian down herself. If he hadn't left the country, then he was hiding somewhere. But why? And from whom? She started with the last place she knew he had been, a small lodge near the airport. But when she arrived, she found the room empty, stripped of any trace of him. The receptionist, an elderly man with sharp eyes, watched her warily. "You looking for that young man?" he finally asked. Noelle's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, Damian. Do you know where he went?" The old man hesitated before lowering his voice. "He left in a hurry. Looked scared. Said if anyone comes looking for him, I should tell them nothing. But you?" He studied her face. "You look different, like someone he trusts." Her throat tightened. "Please, I need to find him." The man exhaled and slipped her a crumpled piece of paper. "He left this behind. Maybe it'll help." Noelle unfolded it with trembling hands. It was a scribbled address. The handwriting was unmistakably Damian's. Her pulse raced. What had Damian gotten himself into? And why did she have a feeling that whatever it was, she was about to be dragged right into the middle of it? As Noelle left the lodge, she failed to notice the black SUV parked a short distance away. Inside, a man in dark glasses watched her closely before pulling out his phone. "She has the note," the man murmured. "She's going after him." A voice on the other end chuckled darkly. "Then let's make sure she finds something she won't like." Noelle sat in her car outside the airport, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The weight of everything that had happened pressed down on her. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of emotions, betrayals, and confessions. She had tried to fight her feelings, to resist what her heart wanted, but it was no use. Damian had become an inseparable part of her thoughts, and now he was leaving for good this time, or so she thought. A sudden knock on her window startled her. She turned and gasped. Damian was standing there, breathless, his eyes filled with desperation. She quickly unlocked the door and he slid into the passenger seat. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I couldn't do it," Damian said, running his hands through his hair. "I was at the boarding gate. They were calling my flight and all I could think about was you. I can't leave, Noelle. Not like this." Noelle's heart pounded. "Damian, your father." "Doesn't matter anymore," he cut in. "I know what I want. And I know what you feel too. Noelle, we can't keep running from this." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Damian, we are playing with fire. If Chief Emeka finds out, then we tell him the truth." Damian's voice was firm. "I don't want to live a lie. I love you, Noelle. I have loved you from the moment I first saw you, and I know you love me too." She turned away, biting her lip. "Loving you is the most dangerous thing I've ever done, but it's also the only thing that feels right." Damian reached for her hand, his touch warm, steady. "Then let's be brave. Let's face whatever comes together." A long silence stretched between them before Noelle finally nodded. "Okay." As they sat there, a sudden ring from Damian's phone shattered the moment. He hesitated before answering. "Hello?" His expression darkened. "What? When? Okay, I'll be there soon." He hung up and turned to Noelle, his face pale. "My father collapsed. He's in the hospital." Noelle's breath caught. "Oh my God. We have to go," Damian said urgently. They raced to the hospital, their hearts heavy with worry. When they arrived, they found Chief Emeka lying unconscious, an oxygen mask over his face. Doctors surrounded him, murmuring medical terms that neither of them understood. Tunde, the family lawyer, stood in the corner, his face grim. "It's a stroke," he said. "The stress, the tension, it was too much." Damian clenched his fists. "This is my fault." Noelle placed her hand on his arm. "We don't know that." Hours passed in painful silence. Finally, the doctor emerged. "He's stable for now, but he needs rest and no stress. If he wakes up, it's best not to agitate him." Damian swallowed hard. "We need to talk to him." Noelle hesitated. "Maybe not now." But it was too late. A weak voice called from the room. "Damian! Noelle?" They stepped inside, finding Chief Emeka awake, his eyes dull but alert. He looked at them both, his gaze heavy with meaning. "I know," he whispered. Noelle's breath hitched. "You know what?" His lips curved in a faint, knowing smile. "I see it in your eyes, the way you look at each other. I have known for a while." Damian's body tensed. "Father, Chief Emeka raised a weak hand. "Life is too short to live in pretense. I don't have the strength to fight anymore. Just be happy." Tears spilled down Noelle's cheeks as Damian squeezed his father's hand. "Thank you, Father." Chief Emeka sighed, his eyes drifting closed. "Take care of each other." As the machines beeped steadily, Noelle and Damian stood together, holding on to each other, knowing that their love had finally been set free. And for the first time, they had nothing left to hide. Thanks for watching this video. If you find this story useful, kindly show us some love by clicking on the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel. Like the video and share. See you soon.